Johnson baby powder, from the smell of trust to the storm of the courtroom. After bathing her child at night, a mother applies the same white powder whose scent she remembers from her own childhood. There is softness in the room, there is trust, and then suddenly a headline flashes on the phone screen: allegations of cancer from baby powder. Imagine, the very bottle that was considered a symbol of care in homes becoming evidence in thousands of court files. And now Johnson & Johnson is talking about a settlement of nearly $5.5 billion, that is more than 52,000 crore rupees. However, the frightening thing is not just that the allegations are of cancer. The real anxiety is that the company appears ready to give money, yet is saying again and again that cancer does not occur from its product. This is where the biggest question of the story arises. If the allegations are baseless, then why such huge money? And if the plaintiffs are right, then how did this powder keep reaching homes across the world so peacefully for decades? Johnson's baby powder was no ordinary product. This was not a bottle kept on a pharmacy shelf, but a memory. It was trust connected with newborn babies, summer afternoons, mothers' hands, and that familiar smell. From India to America, this powder was a part of care in many families. No one read the ingredient list, no one asked for a lab report. Just one name was seen, Johnson & Johnson, and doubt ended right there. However, the story of talc does not begin in the nursery. It begins with a soft mineral extracted from deep inside the earth that absorbs moisture and makes the skin feel dry. It sounds harmless, but the first hidden twist lay right here. Talc and asbestos are both natural minerals, and in many places in the earth, they can be found close to each other. The evidence connecting asbestos to cancer has been strong for a long time, hence the question of contamination in talc reached the courtrooms. The FDA also states in its public information that talc is used in cosmetic products, and from time to time, the question has been raised as to whether it could contain harmful contaminants like asbestos. This was not a danger that would be visible as soon as powder was applied. No color changes, no alarm rings. Even if there were a risk, it would surface in the shape of suspicion after years of habit, exposure, and illness. That is why the lawsuits did not begin on any single day. First, a few women looked back at their life habits after an ovarian cancer diagnosis. Then the same question came up: could everyday powder be connected to this illness? Lawyers for the plaintiffs stated that many women use talc-based powder in the genital area for years. Their claim was that this exposure could connect to the risk of ovarian cancer. Johnson & Johnson continuously denied these allegations. The company's stance remained that its talc products were safe, asbestos-free, and did not cause cancer. However, in courts, the story does not move so straightforwardly. Science too is often not as dramatic as a courtroom. In some studies, an association was seen. In some, a clear connection was not found. And when science speaks in probabilities, the court demands proof. From here, the matter remained not just about product safety. It became a battle of warning, transparency, testing, memory, and corporate trust. The question was, were consumers told everything they ought to have known? For many people, Johnson's baby powder was a century-old trust. However, trust too is like an invisible balance sheet. It accumulates over years and starts shaking from a single allegation. The very smell of the powder that gave comfort became the smell of fear for many families. This was the emotional power of this case. Allegations were made not just on a company, but on a domestic memory. Then the story took its first big turn. The matter did not remain limited to baby powder. Along with Johnson's baby powder, other talc-based products, such as shower to shower, also kept getting dragged into the world of litigation. In 2018, a Missouri jury gave a massive verdict in favor of 22 women and their families. The award was initially $4.69 billion, later reduced to $2.12 billion, and in 2021 the US Supreme Court declined to hear J&J's appeal. This verdict became a hope for the plaintiffs. They felt that their voice was being heard. However, for the company, it was one verdict, not the final scientific truth. After this, the number of lawsuits kept increasing. In every new file there was a diagnosis, there was a family, there was an old bottle, and there was a question that no one was able to close easily. Experts began appearing in courtrooms. Someone would talk about mineral samples, someone about epidemiology, someone would say risk increases, someone would say proof is weak. And in every hearing, that same tension kept deepening. However, one thing few people understand: Johnson & Johnson won many trials as well. Plaintiffs won a few big verdicts, and the company successfully defended many claims. Meaning, the story was not black and white. This very contradiction confused the public further. If the company was winning, why did fear remain? If plaintiffs were winning, Why were questions continuously raised on science? In 2020, Johnson & Johnson stopped the sales of talc-based baby powder in North America. Some people felt this was a safety signal, but the company connected it to declining demand and misinformation. Then in 2022, the company said that it would shift to a cornstarch-based baby powder portfolio globally, and talc-based Johnson's baby powder would be discontinued in 2023. At the same time, the company maintained its safety position on its cosmetic talc. Right here, the story got even more entangled. The product was leaving the shelves, but the company was saying that the product was safe. For consumers, this question became even bigger. If everything was fine, why was the formula changed? Old bottles could run out, but old claims could not. The cases of people who used the powder for decades were still alive. Even a discontinued product can remain alive in a courtroom. Plaintiffs considered this an effect of pressure. The company called it business simplification. And between both narratives, ordinary consumers began looking at their memories with suspicion. Then came the most controversial chapter of legal strategy. Johnson & Johnson tried for a large settlement via the bankruptcy route by putting talc liabilities into separate subsidiaries. In America, critics called this the Texas two-step. The idea was that liabilities move into a separate entity, and claims get settled in one place through a bankruptcy court. It sounds technical, but its impact could have reached thousands of families. Critics asked, why is a financially strong corporation using the path of bankruptcy protection? The company said this is a way to give claimants a faster and fairer resolution. However, courts repeatedly did not allow these attempts to become an easy route. According to the AP, last year, a bankruptcy judge rejected a $9 billion settlement plan of the subsidiary Red River Talc. After the bankruptcy route got stuck, the case appeared to return back towards civil litigation. And right then, another difficulty arose before the plaintiffs, proving specific causation. In July 2026, a federal judge raised questions on thousands of talc claims, and news emerged asking for more specific evidence from plaintiffs. This meant that general risk alone was not enough, individual proof was also needed. And then suddenly that news arrived which drew the attention of the entire world. Johnson & Johnson proposed a $5.5 billion settlement to resolve nearly 76,000 lawsuits. However, this deal is not completely sealed yet. Its biggest condition is that at least 95% of claimants become a part of it, meaning this door will open only with the yes of thousands of people. The payment plan is also not all at once immediately. According to reports, the company can pay up to $3 billion by 2027, and the remaining amount will go after 2028. This means that for the families who waited for years, even this is not instant closure. Calendars will turn again before court files close. Now the question comes, if Johnson & Johnson had confidence in its victory, why the settlement? The answer may be hidden more in the boardroom than in the courtroom. Litigation is not just a legal battle, it also becomes a burden on brand reputation, investor confidence, executive focus, and future uncertainty. Sometimes a settlement is not guilt, but risk management as well. However, for plaintiffs, this is not just accounting. For them, this is the cost of hospital visits, lost mothers, chemotherapy, and those questions whose answer they received very late. This is the most painful contradiction of this story. Money will come, but the company is not admitting wrongdoing. Families will see compensation, but the official truth will still remain disputed. Then science gave a new turn in 2024. The WHO's cancer agency IARC classified talc as probably carcinogenic to humans, that is in Group 2A, based on limited human evidence for ovarian cancer and other evidence. However, there is an important nuance here. Probably carcinogenic does not mean that every bottle gave cancer to every user. This is a hazard classification, not courtroom proof of individual causation. And this very difference is the heartbeat of the entire legal battle. Science says there could be a risk. The court asks, how will you prove that this person's illness occurred from this very product? The asbestos angle made this debate even more sensitive. The cancer risk of asbestos is established, and the possibility of contamination in talc deposits made product testing a central issue. Fibers visible under a microscope are never visible to ordinary eyes. The consumer sees only powder. The scientist sees particles. The lawyer sees accountability. A family sits in a courtroom, and in front of them words like mineralogy, epidemiology, exposure routes are going on. Imagine what it must feel like to translate grief into graphs and lab language. Johnson & Johnson kept saying that decades of scientific analysis support its product safety. Plaintiffs kept saying that consumers did not get enough protection regarding warnings and risks. So who is right? Perhaps this very question makes this documentary the most human. Because courts can give a verdict, but converting every pain into a clear sentence is not easy. There is another surprising aspect to this case. Baby powder was a small part of Johnson & Johnson's massive healthcare empire. Yet this small product cast a decades-long legal shadow over the company. Investors kept watching reserves, analysts kept calculating risk, and consumers kept watching changing formulas on shelves. A domestic product suddenly became a case study of corporate governance. Today, younger parents may perhaps never buy Johnson's talc-based powder. They will find a cornstarch formula, they will find new packaging, and perhaps the old story will appear only in news archives. However, in countries like India, memories do not change so quickly. In many homes, that white and blue bottle has been not just a product, but a part of childhood. Although this settlement is mainly connected to US lawsuits, its psychological impact is global. Because trust does not see borders. A court fight in one country reaches the bathroom shelf of another country. Laws can be different, regulations can be different, but a consumer's fear is the same. The question is the same: is what I use daily really safe? And this question is not just Johnson & Johnson's. It belongs to every product that we bring into our homes without reading, without asking, just looking at the brand name. Safety is not a stamp applied once. It is formed through continuous testing, updated science, transparent communication, and tough regulation. Otherwise, ordinary things too can become extraordinary disputes. For corporations, perhaps the biggest lesson is that trusted for generations is no permanent shield. Evidence changes, science evolves, and public memory can reach the courtroom. For consumers too, the story is not easy. Blind trust can be dangerous, but so can blind panic. The right path is to understand ingredients, watch updates, and not take health questions lightly.
This video has taught you something new. Or if you feel this information should reach more people, don't forget to like and share the video. Your small share can become valuable and useful information for someone else. If you have any questions related to this topic, or if you would like to share your opinion with us, be sure to write in the comment box. We read every question and suggestion from you, because your feedback inspires us to create better content. And if you want to keep receiving such interesting and reliable information about business, the economy, and the world in the future, then don't forget to subscribe to our channel GRT Business and also press the bell icon so that you get notifications of every new video directly. At GRT Business, we always strive to provide you with accurate, balanced, and reliable information. Our news and analysis are prepared based on information obtained from various news agencies, public sources, and public opinion. We make every effort to verify and validate each fact as much as possible. But in case of any possible error or dispute, the responsibility lies with the respective sources. Our only aim is to present you with a correct and trustworthy perspective so that you can understand any topic better.